The road out of Phoenix cut through the late afternoon like a line drawn with purpose. The desert had a way of stripping away everything decorative, and Maya Cross had always preferred that. Landscapes that offered too much softness encouraged people to drift. This one did not. It forced direction, it forced choices, it forced clarity. Maya drove without speaking. Beside her, Samantha Carter sat angled slightly toward the passenger side window, one hand resting around the phone she had not put away since they left the node. Neither of them had spoken for several minutes after reading the final message. The silence was not confusion. It was the kind of silence that followed recognition. Something had shifted in Phoenix, and neither of them was prepared to pretend otherwise. The message remained clear in Maya's mind. Phoenix was never where they tested the system. Phoenix is where they taught it who could speak for it. That was not an observation. It was a correction, and corrections only came from people who understood both the error and the structure behind it. Sam was the first to break the silence. "That wasn't just a warning," she said. "It was meant to redirect how we think about the whole thing." "Yes," Maya said. Sam turned her head slightly. "Which means whoever sent it knew exactly what we saw." "Yes. And they knew we would understand it." Maya glanced at the rearview mirror. The same dark sedan remained behind them, maintaining the same disciplined distance it had held since they pulled away from the facility. "Yes," she said again. Sam let out a quiet breath. "I hate that." Maya almost smiled, but not quite. "So do I." Sam looked back at her phone. Adrian responded. "Read it." Sam's expression changed before she spoke, as if the shape of the sentence had irritated her on contact. He said, "You're asking a question that assumes I was ever outside the chain." The words sat between them for a moment. "That is not denial," Sam said. "No. It's not even defense. No. It's a controlled admission." "Yes." Sam lowered the phone. "So he's inside it. Or close enough that the distinction no longer matters." Sam stared ahead for a moment, then asked the question she already knew the answer to. "Do we trust him?" Maya didn't hesitate. "No." Sam nodded once. "Good." The sedan behind them adjusted slightly as Maya changed lanes. It did not close the gap, and it did not fall back. It simply maintained the same relationship to their movement, which told Maya exactly what she needed to know. As they approached a light, it shifted lanes, just enough to pull briefly alongside them before easing back again, as if confirming position rather than maintaining distance. "They're not trying to lose us," Sam said. "No. They're also not trying to stop us." "No." Sam shifted in her seat. "So what does that mean?" "It means observation has more value than intervention, for now." Or, Sam glanced at the mirror again. "That didn't feel like observation." Maya's voice stayed even. "No, it felt like calibration." Sam considered that. "So someone hasn't decided what we are yet." Maya nodded faintly. "That's right. A threat, a variable, a useful disruption?" "Yes." Sam leaned back and looked toward the windshield again. "That is a very uncomfortable category to live inside." "It usually is." They drove another mile in silence before Sam spoke again. "So what's the next move?" Maya did not answer immediately because several possible moves had already been ruled out. Going back to Washington would place them inside a structure that had already proven itself capable of burying design inside process. Contacting Mercer directly would be unreliable now, if not dangerous. Attempting to disappear would force a premature answer from people who had not yet decided how best to define them. There was only one move left that created more leverage than risk. "We move toward the chain," Maya said. Sam turned toward her. "Directly?" "Yes." "That's aggressive." "It's necessary." "And Adrian?" Maya's eyes stayed on the road. We stop allowing him to remain undefined. Sam let out a quiet breath. That should be entertaining. No, Maya said. It should be useful. Another text from Adrian came through on Sam's phone. Just an address and a time. After Sam shared the new message, Maya raised an eyebrow and said, "That's convenient." Sam entered the address Adrian had provided into the car's navigation system. The cafe Adrian had chosen sat just far enough outside the main business corridor to look incidental and just close enough to infrastructure to be practical. It occupied the kind of location used by people who wanted access without obvious visibility. The parking lot was half full, the building clean and forgettable. The kind of place where almost anyone could be waiting for almost anyone else without drawing attention. They entered without hesitation. As they crossed the threshold, a man near the counter glanced up, too quickly, then looked away just as fast, as if correcting a mistake. Sam noticed. Maya did too. Neither acknowledged it. Adrian Vale was already there, seated at a corner table near the windows with a cup of coffee untouched in front of him. No laptop, no visible work, no signals of distraction. He looked exactly like a man who had chosen to be early because control began with posture. Sam noticed him first. "Corner table," she said softly. "No devices." "Deliberate," Maya said. As they approached, a server paused near their table longer than necessary, adjusting nothing in particular before moving on. They entered without hesitation. Adrian looked up as they approached, his expression composed, his attention narrowing without ever appearing abrupt. "You're earlier than I expected," he said. Maya took the seat across from him. Sam sat slightly to her left. "You moved the timeline," Maya said. Adrian held her gaze. "No, I adjusted to it." His eyes shifted briefly past Maya, toward the window, toward the street, then back again, as if tracking something neither of them had commented on yet. Sam caught it. "You expecting someone else?" Adrian's expression didn't change. "No. A beat. But I rarely assume we're alone." Sam leaned back slightly. "That sounds like the kind of distinction people make when they want responsibility without ownership." Adrian's mouth shifted by half a degree. "It sounds like accuracy." Maya did not blink. Phoenix is not a pilot system. No. It is the reference architecture. Yes, and it still validates the distributed advisory chain. Under certain conditions. Sam folded her arms. And those conditions are being prepared now. Adrian didn't answer right away. He didn't need to. The silence did the work for him. Maya leaned forward slightly. "Which side of the advisory chain are you on?" That landed more cleanly than most questions did in Adrian's presence. He didn't flinch, but he did recalculate. "That depends," he said, "on how you define side." Sam gave a dry look toward Maya. "There it is." Maya stayed where she was. "No, there are only 3 possibilities. You are inside it. You are working against it. Or you are trying to benefit from proximity to both." Adrian's attention remained on her. "There is a 4th, which is understanding it before deciding whether it deserves to survive." Sam shook her head. "That sounds like elegant avoidance. It sounds like precision." "No," Sam said. "It sounds like someone who still wants the option of claiming innocence later." Adrian finally looked at her fully. "That option is not available to anyone close enough to understand what this is." The honesty in that line was quiet, but real enough that even Sam paused for a moment. Maya took advantage of it immediately. "You're in the validation chain." Adrian looked back at her. He did not deny it. "That chain was not originally built to be what it is now," he said. "Nothing is," Maya replied. "That is never the defense people think it is." He gave the slightest nod. "Fair." "Then define it as it exists now," Maya said. Adrian sat back a fraction. It is a mechanism for determining who gets to act first when time becomes the most valuable asset in the room. Sam's eyes narrowed. That's control. Yes. And power. Yes. Maya held his gaze. And who decides? That, Adrian said, is the part most people never see clearly enough to ask. Maya studied him for another second, then stood and stepped away from the table without explanation. Sam followed a moment later, catching up to her just outside the cafe doors. "You're calling Mercer," Sam said. "Yes." Maya dialed. The line rang once, twice, and then ended too cleanly to be accidental. Not declined, not dropped, interrupted. She called again. This time the call did not even ring. It attempted to connect, stalled, and returned an empty failure. For a fraction of a second, barely long enough to register, there was sound. Not a voice, not words, just the sharp distortion of a line opening and being cut mid-breath. Sam watched her expression. That's not ordinary containment. No. That's active filtering. Maya lowered the phone. A message appeared almost immediately. Unknown sender. Stop calling. Sam saw it. That's not him. No. Which means he's either being held inside a conversation he can't leave, or removed from the layer that lets him speak. Maya lowered the phone. Either way, whatever he was trying to do has been interrupted. Sam leaned against the wall and glanced through the front windows. Adrian remained in place, calm and unsurprised, as if their step outside had been part of a pattern he had already accounted for. He knew the call would fail, Sam said. Yes. You think he had anything to do with it? Maya considered the question. Not directly. Sam looked at her. That sounded more certain than you usually are. Because Adrian prefers leverage to interruption. He would rather understand containment than trigger it. That is not a character trait I enjoy. No, Maya said, but it is a useful one. They returned to the table. Adrian looked up as they approached, as if nothing at all had shifted in the brief time they were away. If you're trying to reach Mercer, he said, you're already behind. Maya sat again. How far behind? Adrian folded his hands loosely, far enough that whatever decision he was trying to make is no longer his to make. Sam sat slowly. So he's contained. Yes. By who? Adrian looked at her, then at Maya. That question assumes a single owner. That's not responsive, Maya said. It's not meant to be evasive. It's meant to be accurate. Maya did not let him have the sentence easily, then explained the structure without hiding behind architecture. Adrian was quiet for a moment. Outside, a car door shut. Somewhere inside the cafe, a cup struck a saucer. Small, ordinary sounds moved around the edges of a conversation that was no longer remotely ordinary. Finally, Adrian said, "This system doesn't function through one visible chain. That would make it too easy to expose and too easy to resist. It functions through aligned interests, advisory permissions, legal ambiguities, procurement screens, and timing. No one part has to claim control in public for the structure to function as if someone already has it." Sam frowned. There is always a center. Yes, Adrian said, but it doesn't always occupy a room. Maya held his gaze. You know where it does live. He paused. I know where it functions. That's not different enough to matter. It is if you're trying to stop it. That line was closer to useful. Then stop describing the system and define the decision point, Maya said. Adrian looked at her for several seconds before answering. The center is an interpretive gate. Sam leaned slightly forward. Explain. When an event begins to emerge, Adrian said, it does not move directly into formal response. There is a narrower layer before that. A smaller group of systems and people decide whether the event qualifies for accelerated assumptions about continuity, authority, and urgency. A pre-decision layer, Maya said. Yes. And nodes like Phoenix validate authority inside that layer. Yes. Sam absorbed that, then said quietly, so whoever influences the gate controls timing. Yes. And timing controls outcomes. Yes. Maya did not move. Then this is not emergency infrastructure, it is a governance mechanism. Adrian nodded. Yes. Sam let out a slow breath. That is much worse than a hidden command node. Yes, Adrian said. It is. Maya leaned back slightly. When does the gate meet? Adrian's eyes shifted almost imperceptibly. Tonight, he said. That sharpened the entire room. Where? Maya asked. Scottsdale, private venue, public pretext. It will be described as a resilience round table connected to civic continuity, infrastructure coordination, and advisory preparedness. Sam stared at him. That title alone should be evidence of a crime. Adrian looked at her with mild patience. It's designed to sound procedural, not memorable. And who's attending? A mix. Legal interpreters, procurement shields, continuity consultants, public sector advisors, private sector infrastructure liaisons. A few people whose role is to ensure no one in the room appears singularly responsible for whatever the room enables. Maya understood that immediately. Distributed deniability. Yes. Sam gave a humorless smile. The one thing bureaucratic people still build beautifully. Adrian almost smiled. You're not wrong. Maya studied him. Why are you telling us now? That question changed him more than any other had. He did not lose control. Adrian did not do that. But Maya could see the internal shift, the moment when calculation gave way to decision. Because the structure is no longer patient, he said. You mean it's accelerating? Yes. Because we saw Phoenix. Yes. Because Mercer hesitated. Yes. Because someone else intervened. A pause then. Yes. Sam narrowed her eyes. Who sent the message? I don't know for certain. But you have a theory. Yes. Then say it. Adrian looked down at the coffee he still had not touched. Someone involved early enough to understand the significance of Phoenix before the architecture was concealed under continuity language and procurement layers. A builder, Maya said. Yes. Still active. Unknown. Aligned with us? Sam asked. No. She blinked. You said that very quickly. Because alignment is the wrong framework, Adrian said. If I'm right, the sender is not helping you out of loyalty to your goals. They are correcting an imbalance inside the structure. Maya understood immediately. Factional interference. Yes, Sam sat back. That is not comforting. No, Adrian said. It shouldn't be. Maya let the silence settle for a moment before speaking again. Mercer was rationing the truth. Adrian looked at her. Yes. He pointed us toward Washington as normalization because it was the furthest point he could safely frame without leading us directly to the validating origin. Yes. He wasn't lying. He was narrowing. Yes. Sam looked between them. So Mercer tried to stay useful to both sides until the timing collapsed. That's one way to describe it, Adrian said. What's the other? Adrian's expression became almost neutral again. He convinced himself that information could preserve him longer than loyalty would expose him. Maya thought of Mercer's tone in Washington, the shape of his caution, the way some people spoke when they still believed they could remain inside the structure that frightened them by becoming indispensable to it. That was not uncommon. It was also rarely sustainable. What changed for you? Maya asked. That question landed harder than Sam expected. Adrian did not answer immediately, and for the first time since they sat down, there was no polished language ready to close the space. At first, he said eventually, the architecture looked defensive. It looked like a set of contingencies built for scenarios no one wanted to face unprepared. Then it looked efficient. Then it looked adaptive. And by the time I understood that some people were discussing activation windows in the language of opportunity instead of necessity, I had already spent too much time near it to pretend I was only observing. No one spoke for several seconds after that. Sam was the first to move. That was almost honest. It was honest, Adrian said. That doesn't make it enough. No, he said. It doesn't. Maya believed him, or at least believed that he believed what he had just said. That was not trust. It was simply useful calibration. Then let's be exact, Maya said. The crisis itself matters less than its classification. Yes, the classification matters less than who is permitted to define urgency. Yes, and legitimacy is manufactured by routing emergency interpretation through advisory language that appears procedural, neutral, and temporary. Adrian looked at her carefully. Yes. Sam let out a quiet breath. So the whole structure depends on one thing above all else. Maya knew the answer before she said it. Legitimacy. Yes, Adrian said. Borrowed legitimacy, specifically. That is what allows hidden authority to move faster than scrutiny. Sam glanced down for a moment, then back up. That means the fight is not just over the system. It is over definition. Yes. And if they can define the crisis before anyone else fully understands the event, everything downstream is already inside their frame. Yes. Adrian's expression shifted faintly, almost like recognition. That is the first correct version of the problem most people ever managed to speak aloud. Sam gave him a dry look. I'm thrilled to have earned your respect in a conspiracy cafe. It isn't a conspiracy cafe, Adrian said. No, Sam replied. That would be too honest. The server approached just then, asking if they wanted anything else. None of them did. She left. The ordinary world resumed its movements around them, which only made the conversation feel more dangerous. Maya leaned forward again. How do we get inside tonight? Adrian reached into the inner pocket of his jacket and placed a slim access card on the table. It was understated, professionally expensive, and designed to imply legitimacy without advertising it, a foundation title, a name that would mean little to most people and enough to the right scanner, nothing more. You won't get in as yourselves, he said. Sam glanced at the card. You just carry these around? I carry access. That is somehow worse. Maya picked up the card. And Sam? Adrian turned toward her. The venue relies on contracted event logistics. Temporary staff have broader movement than guests realize. Catering intake on the service side gives you access to the hallway network, staging areas, and likely partial line of sight on the room itself. Sam nodded slowly. That's workable. It's also monitored, Adrian said. So is breathing at this point. That's fair. Maya slid the card into her satchel. What are you not telling me? Adrian's silence was brief, but real. Someone in that room already knows your name. Sam's posture changed immediately. Who? I don't know. That is convenient. It's also true. Maya held his gaze. How do they know me? Because after Phoenix, the question is no longer whether you exist. The question is which file you belong in. That was the cleanest warning he had given them yet. Maya stood. Sam followed. Adrian remained seated for another second, then rose as well. What time? Maya asked. 8:30, arrive separately, and Maya. He stopped. She turned. What? His expression had shed most of its cultivated ambiguity now. If they move from interpretation into decision while you're in the room, do not stay long enough to hear the end. Sam frowned. Why? Adrian looked only at Maya when he answered. Because the most dangerous moment in structures like this is not when they reveal what they believe. It's when they realize someone unauthorized is capable of understanding it. They left him there. By the time Maya and Sam were back in the car, the light over Phoenix had thinned into the first controlled edge of evening. The sedan reappeared after 2 turns, neither closer nor farther away than before, and Sam noticed it with the tired familiarity of a problem that had become too consistent to be surprising. "Still with us?" she said. "Yes." "Do we shake them?" "No." "Why not?" "Because right now, visibility still has value." Sam looked at her. "For us, or for them?" "Yes." That got the smallest real smile out of Sam all day. It vanished quickly. "You know what bothers me most?" she asked. "Tell me." "Adrian doesn't behave like someone who wants power in the obvious way. He behaves like someone who was seduced by design, by intelligence, by structure, by the promise that if the right people built the right system, they could protect the wrong moments from becoming disasters." Maya kept her eyes on the road. "That's one version of him. What's the other?" "The version that knows exactly what he's doing and has simply become skilled at making conflict look like conscience." Sam let that sit for a moment. "I hate that both are plausible." "So do I." The city lights deepened in the distance as they moved toward Scottsdale. The roads became smoother, the landscaping more deliberate, the built environment more intent on appearing calm than it had any right to be. Places that expected influence often dressed themselves in restraint. They learned early that real power preferred good lighting, expensive stone, and the illusion of measured speech. Sam shifted in her seat. "Let me say the problem back to you and see if I've got it." Maya nodded. "Go ahead." "The node at Phoenix matters because it validates authority, but the node itself is not the real center. The real center is the gate where potential crisis becomes classified urgency." "Yes. And whoever influences that gate doesn't need visible control of the full federal structure. They just need enough legitimacy to define the first frame." "Yes. And once that frame takes hold, everyone downstream starts reacting inside. Boundaries they did not choose." "Yes." Sam exhaled slowly. "Then the crisis is almost secondary." "In a system like this, yes. Because what matters is not merely what happens. It's who gets to declare what kind of thing has happened." "Yes." Sam stared ahead through the windshield. "That is obscene." "Yes," Maya said. "It is." A few moments passed. Then Sam asked, "Can it still be broken?" Maya thought about the question honestly before answering. She had no interest in the false reassurance people gave each other when they were frightened and wanted action to feel cleaner than it ever was. "Yes," she said, "but not by exposing one bad actor and pretending the rest collapses with him. So no single villain. No. No dramatic arrest. No. Then what? We break the function, or we expose it so clearly that it can no longer borrow the legitimacy it depends on." Sam looked at her. "That sounds harder." "It is. And tonight? Tonight we listen for how the gate speaks when it thinks no one is there to hear it." The sedan remained behind them, patient and exact. Maya checked the mirror once, then returned her attention to the road. Sam followed her gaze. "Do you think they know where we're going?" "Yes." "Do they care?" "Yes." "Then why let us go?" Maya answered without hesitation. "Because right now they still believe observation gives them more control than interruption." Sam sat back. "And if that changes?" "It will." The final stretch into Scottsdale carried a different kind of silence. Not the silence after Phoenix, where recognition had still been catching up to consequence. This silence was narrower, more disciplined. It belonged to people moving toward a room that would not describe itself as dangerous, even though danger had clearly been one of its principal design requirements. The venue appeared almost exactly as Adrian's card had implied it would. Polished stone, restrained lighting, expensive glass, a lobby built to flatter the people, entering it without appearing gaudy enough to embarrass them. The sort of place where public interest language and private influence could sit at the same table and call each other necessary. Maya pulled into a side lane 2 blocks away and parked beneath a stand of trees that existed mostly for presentation. She cut the engine. A moment later, headlights passed slowly at the end of the block. Not stopping, not circling, just slow enough to notice. Sam watched it through the side mirror. That's the second time I've seen that car. Maya didn't look. Yes. For a moment, neither of them moved. Then Sam turned toward her. Once we go in, things will change. Maya looked at her. Yes. This isn't Phoenix. We are not uncovering a buried structure. We are walking into the room where the buried structure explains itself. Yes. And if Adrian is right, they may already know your name. Yes. Sam nodded once. Good. I just wanted to hear you say that without pretending it doesn't matter. It matters. Sam reached for the door handle, then stopped. You know what this really is, don't you? Maya waited. This isn't about a hidden system responding to crisis. No. It's about a hidden system deciding who gets to define one. Yes. Sam opened the door. Then let's go hear how they justify it. They stepped out. As they moved toward the venue, a man near the entrance checked a list, then looked up, directly at Maya, holding the glance a fraction too long before returning to the page. Sam lowered her voice. We're not anonymous. Maya's response was quiet. No. Advisory gate. She intended to hear it speak in its own voice, and somewhere inside the building ahead of them, in a room that would call itself responsible, procedural, and necessary, people were already preparing to do what hidden structures always eventually did when they believed they were protected by language. They were preparing to call power by a cleaner name.